Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about sex, particularly all the untold truths about sex and everything that I feel like people just shy away from sharing because they're either too uncomfortable, too scared, or like they just think it's such a sinful thing. So that's what I'm going to be doing for today's video. To kind of give you guys a quick little background before I hit the topic of sex, I'm married. I've been married for about a year and a half now, and Grayson and my husband, if you guys don't know, we did not have sex until we were married. And it was not easy at all, but it was totally worth it, and I'll hit that later in the video. But I really just wanted to do this video because I feel like nobody talks about it. I feel like I said, people are always so scared or so uncomfortable, or they just don't know how to do it. And obviously, like, I'm no expert when it comes to like talking about this stuff, but I really just wanted to kind of share with you guys kind of my journey with having to wait until marriage to do anything like that, and kind of just hit some points that I think are important to share in regards to sex. And I really hope that none of you get uncomfortable like throughout this video. If you do, it's okay. We're all at different levels in our maturity and in our walks and kind of how we view things, so it's totally okay. I will do my best to express myself and hopefully make you guys feel comfortable talking about these things or listening about these things. So I just really wanted to do this video again, like I said, because I feel like so many people shy away from talking about it, and I feel like it's something that really needs to be talked about. And I feel like even more so in the realm of Christianity, a lot of people don't talk about it, and I don't understand why, because God created sex, and it was a gift that he gave to a man and a woman to partake in when they get married. And like, it's an act of worship if it's done in marriage, okay? Again, I'll hit all of this. If this all sounds like gibberish to you guys, it's okay. I'm going to address all of this throughout the video. But again, that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm basically just going to share with you guys again kind of my perspective on why I think sex was created the way it was and the way it's intended to be used, and kind of just my experience of having to wait until marriage to engage in that activity. So I hope that you guys enjoy this video. If you guys need any clarification on anything, or if there's any other topic that you guys would like me to talk about, by all means let me know down in the comments below, but we're gonna go ahead and get started. So for starters, I'm going to start off by saying that I feel like the topic of sex is either so idolized or so shamed. And wherever you are in this category, like whether you're sexually active, whether you've never had sex, whether you've had sex, whether you're wanting to have sex, like wherever you are in that category, I feel like if you try to talk to someone about it, like oftentimes they'll either be like, oh my God, like you're so obsessed, like why do you care about sex? Or they'll be like, oh my God, why are you doing that? Or why do you want to do that? Like, that's so sinful. Anyway, so I just feel like neither of those is a good attitude to have towards sex. I feel like maybe I should start off with this. Okay, I think that sex is created by God, and it's intended to only be done between a man and a woman when they're married. At least where I lie in my faith, and I feel the way God intended to create it was not for it to be shared outside of the covenant of marriage, right? And I feel like it's just a healthy thing to save something so intimate between who you're gonna do life with, and not just something that you should go around doing. And before I keep going any further, whether you've done it or not, or if you've done it in the past or you're doing it, like, no judgment to you at all. Like, that's between you and the Lord, between you and your partner. And if you feel like there's no redemption past like what you've done, I want you to know that like there is redemption, and like God can still cleanse you, and he can still make you pure before the eyes of your future spouse. So I'm just going to quickly throw that out there. But that being said, I think that sex is intended to be done, again, like I said, between a man and a wife. And I feel like it's never addressed properly because, like I said, they either shame you for wanting to know more about it, or for not doing it right, or people are just idolizing it. Like, it's the best thing in the world, and like you need to do it, and like I'm not going to wait until I get married before I start doing it, kind of thing. So I think that those are two attitudes that I at least have come across a lot when it comes to the topic of sex. And That's just not the way God intended it, not the way sex should be viewed. Sex should be viewed as something beautiful and sacred, and something, again, that, like, you know, you can eventually partake in once you get married. And, like, once you're married and you get to engage in that, like, by all means, just go for it, you know what I mean? But, like, waiting until marriage and waiting for that special someone is totally, totally worth it. So that being said, again, Grayson and I waited, and I don't say that to, like, boast or to, like, tell you guys that you have to do what I have to do, but it was definitely not an easy process. So Grayson and I met doing a missionary program. We lived under the same, like, facility, under the same building. Obviously, he slept in the guys' rooms and I slept in the girls' room. I feel like the fact that we were just constantly seeing each other so much, especially once we were engaged, was really, really difficult. When you're attracted to this person and, you know, you've already hit some levels of intimacy with them that you wouldn't hit with other people. And again, we were created as sexual beings, so it's, like, totally okay to, like, have that sexual desire. Obviously, you don't want it to turn into something lustful and, you know, and have your heart in the wrong place, but, like, it's okay to think those things. It's okay to, like, want to share that part of your life with someone else, if that makes sense. So Grayson and I waited, like I said, and it was not an easy process at all. We definitely had to figure out how to set up boundaries and kind of just figure out how to lower temptations, because, like I said, we were in a really, like, closed facility, and we were in a type of school where you're really, like, getting to see a lot of different sides of people, and you're really trying to grow in your spiritual walk. And, like, just the fact that, like, you get to see each other engage more, I guess, in your spirituality than you typically would on a day-to-day basis kind of really just heightens how much more you're attracted to that person. So, for example, once Grayson and I got engaged, his parents asked of us to not pray together. So we would pray for one another on our own time, and we would pray for other people, and we would pray in group settings. But we never prayed just one-on-one, because it's one of those things that's, like, really intimate, and it really just heightens that attraction towards someone, especially if you're, like, attracted to them, like, spiritually, if that makes sense. So we never prayed until we got married, and that was also really, really hard, I will say, because you want to be able to kind of share that level of intimacy in that sense as well. Okay, I feel like I'm kind of rambling, but so I just wanted to, like, start off with that, like, I want you guys to know that it's, like, it's okay to desire sex. It's okay to want to talk about it. It's okay to not want to talk about it. It's okay to one day want to do it, and it's okay to not want to do it yet. It's totally normal to, like, have those desires and to have those feelings. I think it's just a matter of learning how to handle those emotions and that kind of thing, because, like, throughout my whole high school experience, like, everyone was all about sex, but, like, in the idolizing way, because they were all like, oh my God, like, we're finally old enough, and, like, oh, I love you so much, and I just want to have sex with you. But in reality, they just, like, they don't love you, and they don't see themselves spending their life with you, and they don't see sex as, like, an intimate thing or a gift. They just kind of see it as, like, something to feel good, or to kind of, like, mask other insecurities and a bunch of other things, like underlying issues. That the point is, while I was in high school, that's literally what everyone did. Everyone would hook up, have sex, break up, date for a while, and have sex in the meantime, and then never hear from each other once they graduated. And I feel like that's just kind of sad, because, again, I feel like that's not what sex was intended for, but I also feel like that just opened the door to so many other, like, insecurities and so many other wounds and things that could have easily been avoided. So I will say, in that sense, though, for me, it was kind of easier because I didn't have anyone to date throughout high school, so I feel like I never had that temptation in that sense. However, it doesn't change the fact that I still had that desire to, like, just date someone and to be intimate with someone. The temptation definitely rose a lot once I met Grayson and we were taking things very seriously, and especially when we were engaged, like, there's just a lot more that we had to be cautious about so that we wouldn't end up doing something that we know we shouldn't be doing until we're married. In regards to boundaries and stuff, I think that obviously it needs to be something that's discussed between you and your partner. It's very important that if you're wanting to save yourself until marriage, that you find someone who has that same mindset. Because if they don't have the same mindset as you, no matter how strong you think you are in your faith, no matter how rooted you think you are or how set you are on wanting to save yourself till marriage, if the person you're planning to do life with and you're trying to be intimate with, if they're not on the same page, it's bound to happen that they'll drag you down and then end up doing what they want to do. So it's very, very important. And I think that a lot of what made it easier in a sense when I was dating Grayson was the fact that he had that same mindset that we weren't going to do anything and that we shouldn't be doing anything. So that was definitely helpful and obviously like such a huge blessing, and I'm really glad that he had the same mentality. The other thing I would say too is, you know, if the temptation's too much, like don't put yourself in situations where you're isolated or it's just you two in the house. Like if you're gonna go over to their house or vice versa, like always make sure that there's someone else there. Like they don't have to be hanging out with you like on your date night, but like it's nice to know that you have people around you, even if you don't know them, to kind of hold you accountable in a sense. And if like just talking about sex or talking about certain things kind of gets you guys in that mentality that like, oh, like we want to have sex, like avoid those things and, you know, don't put yourself in that situation. I guess just be mindful about all those things. I hope that that kind of helps as far as like boundaries goes. I think the biggest thing again is just like make sure that the person that you're like trying to be in a relationship with has the same mentality as you, so that you guys can like work around boundaries and conversations to what benefits both of you the most. The other thing I will say is I feel like oftentimes people think that they need to have sex before they get married in order to know if they're sexually compatible with one another. And to a degree, that's kind of a fair thing to be concerned about. Obviously, if you're marrying someone and you're going to be engaging in this activity with them for the rest of your life, you obviously want to be sexually compatible, because if not, then I feel like things would probably get really awkward. But regardless, I feel like that's not a good way to figure out if you're sexually compatible. I think that if you're obviously waiting until you get married to have sex, there's a lot of other factors that go into sex. So obviously there's the act of sex in itself. I'm not going to go into detail, but the act of sex in itself, and then there's everything else that comes along with sex. So there's like, you know, binding your souls together, becoming one before the Lord, and an act of worship to God, and a level of intimacy that you wouldn't be sharing with other people. And there's just stuff that's shared with your partner during sex that obviously is not going to be shared with anyone else. And so I feel like all of that is like a part of sex and not just sex in itself. I hope that makes sense. But what I'm trying to get at is like, if you're in the stage of like waiting and dating and being engaged and you're not married quite yet, there shouldn't be this concern of whether or not you're going to be sexually compatible, because for one, at the end of the day, you're not marrying this person just because you want to have sex with them. There's a bunch of other factors, like, are you guys compatible in the way you communicate, in the way you express to each other? Are you guys compatible in like your morals and your beliefs? Are you compatible in where you see your life going? Are you attracted to one another? Like, these are all factors that you should take into consideration when you're dating someone to begin with. But even more so, like, if you want to know if you're sexually compatible with someone, like, you don't really think about that. So when Grayson and I were engaged, obviously, like, thoughts here and there pop up of like, oh, like, this is who I'm going to be having sex with. This is who I am going to be doing it with for the first time ever in my entire life. And this is who I'm going to be doing it with for the rest of my life. And I don't know how to express it, because I never had this concern of like, oh, it's going to be the most uncomfortable, most awkward thing ever, and I don't want to do it. It was kind of one of those things that like, I was like, shoot, like, I met the person that I want to marry. I love spending time with this person. I love this person. I want to do life with this person. And I know that Christ brought us together, and so many beautiful things are going to come out of it. And like, I just trust that everything that comes along with it, and along with marriage, that being one of those things, sex, Like it's all just gonna click. And it really did. I may or may not do a video in the future, maybe telling you guys kind of how our experience went. And obviously I'm not going to go into full detail because no, but if you guys are just curious to kind of know what it's like to like kind of engage in something like that for the first time ever, if you guys are curious, let me know down below. I may or may not do a video, and I may or may not have Grayson in it, but I just think back to like when I got married with Grayson and we got to share all of those experiences with each other. It was not uncomfortable. Like it was uncomfortable and kind of awkward in the sense that like we were new to this and you know, we don't have experience doing this, but it was still so like, I'm like at a loss for words, but it's really hard. Like obviously it's going to be kind of awkward, it's going to be kind of uncomfortable, and it's going to be kind of difficult because you're both new to this activity, but also like the fact that you're both new to this experience and you're both sharing this experience with one another, and there's that sense of vulnerability. Like it's still so comforting and still like so intimate and still not awkward to a degree. I don't really know if that made sense, but I guess what I'm trying to get at, well, I apologize if this video is too long, but the point I'm trying to get across is the only way to be compatible with someone is not just sexually. And I feel like if you take the time to really focus on the things that you can and should engage in, like working on your communication and working on life goals and improving your relationship, like everything else should just click. And so I feel like if you guys are in a stage of like where you want to know what sex is like, or you're feeling pressured into taking part in having any type of sexual activity, like I'm here to tell you that like it's not worth it. It's such a beautiful and intimate thing, and I love the fact that I get to share that with Grayson. But I feel like if I were to just be doing that with anyone and whenever and with whoever, it would definitely degrade the beauty of what it actually is. I hope that made sense. So I guess honestly the main reason I wanted to do this video was because, again, I feel like nobody talks about it. And so if there's certain topics about sex or relationships or anything that you guys want to address, again, let me know down below and I'll definitely do a video on it. But I just wanted to do this video to kind of just tell you guys that like, although sex is so great and you know you can eventually take part in it, and you should if you can, like don't feel this pressure that like you need to do it and that you should want to do it. Don't feel this pressure, especially if you're like in school and everyone else around you is doing it. You guys are worth the wait, and it's gonna be something so much more beautiful, and something so much better will come out of it if you really do wait until you get to share that with that one special person. And again, if you don't have that belief, or if you've already done it but now you want to wait until marriage, like it's still totally doable. I know that God can totally redeem that. I've seen so many marriages who like one of the partners or both of the partners didn't wait until they were married before they got married, and like that's not the way God designed it, but there's totally redemption and you can totally be made pure. So like don't feel like, oh, that's not for me anymore, because it totally is and it totally can be. Okay, so I hope that kind of was insightful and enjoyable and not uncomfortable to talk about or to listen about. So I'm just gonna kind of end it there, because I feel like if I keep going, this video is never gonna end. So I may or may not do a part 2 depending on how you guys react to this video, honestly. And I feel like if I do another one of these videos, I'm gonna bring Grayson along, because he is so comfortable, like I said, about talking about these things, and I feel like he also really believes that like this is stuff that you shouldn't be uncomfortable to talk about. So that's basically the gist of it. I'm gonna call it a night. I hope that you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on Tuesday. Have an amazing weekend, and thanks for watching. Bye.